Washington has now made its 10th acquisition of the free agency tampering period. Dante Fowler Jr., you are a Washington Commander, former Dallas Cowboy, Atlanta Falcon, I believe Raider, and Jacksonville Jaguar. And I think he was a Raider for a couple years in Jacksonville. No, he was a Ram for a couple years and Jacksonville Jaguar. Now in his 10th season, I remember this guy in the 2016 draft. I remember how bad I wanted Washington to draft him. We eventually drafted Brandon Sheriff instead. This is now Dante's third different destination playing for Dan Quinn. And he was even quoted once saying, according to Mark Bullock on Twitter, on Washington Commanders Twitter, saying that I'm fine with just playing for Dan Quinn for the rest of my life because Dan Quinn recruited him to play for Florida and then signed him in Atlanta and in Dallas. Dante Fowler, he is your prototypical, wasn't as good as he was projected to be as a top 10 pick in the draft, but he's still around after 10 years in the league. His best season, 11 and a half sacks back in 2019 with Los Angeles. Had 4 sacks for the Cowboys in 2023, 6 sacks in 2022. Just a solid depth piece, can start when asked to, and a dog. He's not going to light it up in production. If you're expecting him to come here and be a double-digit sack guy, that's probably never going to be the case. He's only done it one time in his career, but he's going to be another guy that knows Dan Quinn's system, knows what makes Dan Quinn tick, and he's going to be a locker room guy, culture setter, not going to light it up. I'm going to keep saying that throughout this video. Dante Fowler Jr. is not going to come here and suddenly become the Neil Hunter or a Bosa brother or a Watt brother, but he's going to be a situational pass rusher and someone we can depend on for depth. Clearly, we were not okay with what was on this roster. This is now the third edge rusher Washington has signed this free agency period. Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler of the Cowboys and Clelin Ferrell of the San Francisco 49ers. Remember when we used to have 4 former first rounders on the line? We now have like 5 because Dante Fowler, top 10 pick. Clelin Ferrell, top 10 pick. Deron Payne, John Allen. So we went back to having the 4 number ones up front. Washington is getting absolutely busy. 10 free agent signing. I knew there was going to be huge turnaround on this roster, but I don't think anybody could see it coming this fast. They were not okay with what was on this roster, guys. Oh, we also added a long snapper as well. Former Raven Tyler Ott, long snapper, will be our new full-time long snapper here. We all know how the Cameron Cheeseman debacle ended up here for Washington. I never want to have a conversation about a long snapper ever again. It should never be something that fans have to discuss. It's one of the positions that you should just have one, and you should never hear their name called on game day, and there should never be narrative surrounding a position like a long snapper ever again. Ron traded up for one, and it ended up being an abstract failure. And one of the few things that summarized why Ron's tenure in Washington was a failure. The list grows for Washington acquisitions in the 2024 offseason. So we are now at 10. The list stands at 10 now, y'all. Frankie Louvu, Austin Eckler, Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Biotish, Nick Algretti, Brandon McManus, Zach Ertz, Marcus Mariota, Tyler Ott, Dante Fowler Jr., and Clelin Ferrell. We have not even started negotiations with any of our current impending free agents yet. And I'm here for it. I think we need new everything. We started the organization from top to bottom. We have a new ownership group, a new front office led by a brand spanking new general manager, and Adam Peters got to cooking right away. A new coaching staff, and we're going to have a new quarterback once the draft gets here. It's the era of new for Washington. We're in our brand new era right now. So I'm here for going into week one as a completely unrecognizable franchise. It is a complete facelift going forward, and let's build and start an identity. I want in a couple years from now people to look at a player coming out in the draft and say, I think that's a Washington guy. That's a commander. He just spells commander. He looks like a commander because there's teams where you could just be like, oh, he feels like a Seahawk. He feels like a Raven. He feels like a 49er. I want that for us, man. I want us to have some established identity, established culture. I know that word scares the hell out of people, but I want us to have establishment. I want us to have key traits that identify as a commander. Like when they see a certain type of player, I want people to be able to typecast it as, wow, he would be great in Washington. He just feels like a Washington type player. I've wanted that for so long. Washington has been having an identity crisis for the majority of the last 25 years. And we're not saying that guys like Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler Jr., Frankie Lou, we're not saying these are identity changers, but I believe in the people that are making these selections and that are evaluating these players we're adding to our roster. So if they say that these are guys that can get the culture moving, that can help form and build an identity, then fuck it, let's roll. Dante Fowler Jr., Tyler Ott, Cleveland Farrell, Marcus Mariota, welcome to the squad. Let's go. Let's eat. And you're in a scheme you're comfortable in, Dante. You're in a scheme you're very comfortable in. I mean, the sack production isn't crazy, but it wasn't crazy here before. It's better than what we've had. And I like that we're aggressively filling this roster and we're not waiting on shit to happen. I thought we were going to sign a select few guys and we're going to bring back a lot of our older guys. I'm glad I'm wrong because I'm here for all the turnover. What we've had in this building is not enough. Despite Ron's mantra of everything we need is in this room, he lied for the last 4 years. So I'm here for all this new that's here. I don't care that we're signing Cowboys. That's a good team, regardless of if you want to admit it or not. Dante Fowler Jr. makes sense as a player that we targeted. I know everybody wanted us to go after the top guys or try to make that trade for Brian Burns. I feel very comfortable that we still have all our draft picks day two of free agency. I'm glad we didn't have to go out and trade assets for anybody. Let's get the roster filled out. And when it comes to draft time, let's get our goddamn quarterback and let's keep filling needs in free agency so we can get to a point of drafting best player available each round and not having to pigeonhole ourselves to a specific position other than quarterback because we already know what's happening at number 2. But 10 signings in 2 days. These these boys is not playing any games. We'll see if it results. We'll see if results are affected immediately, but you can tell that there's been no comfort or no complacency with what's already on the roster. And that's already a green flag for me from Adam Peters and company. Welcome to the Washington Commanders, Dante Fowler Jr. Let's see what else this team has in store. When it comes out, I'll be here to update y'all, man. Hell to the Washington Commanders. Deuces.